Mistral AI's LLM aims for text quality that can sometimes match GPT-4 but cheaper. Spin up a solid generator for chatbots or internal docs, keeping cloud spend low. It doesn't have OpenAI's plug-and-play integrations, though. Think of it as swapping a premium espresso for an economical drip coffee. You save on per-call costs, so reasoning depth may be a bit less. Choosing Mistral feels like picking a reliable drip coffee maker over an espresso machine. The Espresso, GPT-4, delivers high-quality output but costs more per request. The Drip, Mistral, offers consistent results at lower cost, though less flexible for tweaks. As an AI developer, you face a choice: cheaper open-weight model or pricier API. Now let's unpack what makes Mistral's architecture tick. It runs on an open-source transformer stack from a Paris-based unicorn. That could shape how you design your own stack. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Mistral's models are open-source, so you can inspect and tweak them like a recipe. You can run the model on your own hardware. The company announced the model on Dec 12, 2023, and it was being called a unicorn. Unlike GPT-4, Mistral's weights are publicly available. That means you can fork, fine-tune, or run them on modest machines. The catch: you're on your own for scaling and security. Mistral trains on publicly available data, and it's based in the EU. Some users say they save money by renting GPUs instead of using commercial APIs. Performance is solid, though GPT-4 still beats it on code generation tasks. Mistral Large 2 is the flagship model. It's smaller than GPT-4 but runs efficiently. You'll find the weights on Hugging Face. You can also call them through OpenRouter's API. Yeah, you won't get OpenAI's plugins, so you'll have to build your own pipelines. Bottom line, Mistral gives an open-source, potentially cheaper alternative, but it needs extra engineering. Mistral holds its own. Its open-source LLM performs well on everyday tasks. It can lag behind bigger models on tough questions, though. Developers weigh that trade-off when they compare it to GPT-4. Give it a simple prompt, say a blog intro, and it spits out text that feels close to GPT-4. In benchmarks, it nails straightforward jobs, but complex ones can trip it up. The Paris team markets it as a cost-effective alternative. Gemini, on the other hand, brings multimodal tricks that outpace Mistral's static setup. The open-source model is fun to tweak, but it doesn't have Google's ready-made adapters. For quick tweaks, Gemini feels more versatile. In a real-world test, summarizing a multi-page legal contract, Mistral Large delivers a concise summary, fast via OpenRouter, with response times similar to GPT-4. When you process huge document batches, even tiny latency bumps become noticeable. Performance also hinges on your hardware. Applying 4-bit quantization on a modest GPU cuts latency, with only a small hit to quality. Other models show the same pattern, so the trick works broadly. That performance gap can drive up costs and affect scaling. Extra latency often means higher compute bills for SaaS providers. With pricing pressure everywhere, these factors are worth watching, especially for Mistral AI, the open-source AI scene. OpenAI's API prices are climbing. Meanwhile, Chinese providers are cutting theirs, creating a global price gap. Look, Chinese LLMs have lowered usage fees, nudging many models toward raw compute costs. A 1K token request costs 12 cents in the US, but far less in China. Running Mistral's open-source model on your own hardware can slash inference costs. That's cheaper than the OpenAI API. A Berlin SaaS switched from OpenAI to a self-hosted Mistral Large on an A100. It reported lower monthly bills and latency under 200 ms in Docker. The trade-off is simple: you pay less. but you lose built-in safety filters, analytics dashboards, and worldwide edge nodes. So the real question is whether those savings outweigh the loss of convenience, especially now that Meta's Muse Spark is stepping onto the stage. Stick around, the next part will break down how Muse Spark changes the numbers. The price war just got a new contender. Meta's Muse Spark is now in the ring. It isn't a copycat LLM, it's a hybrid that mixes text and images. Chief AI Officer Alexander Wang, a former Scale AI mind, steers the ship. His data labeling stint made him bet on multimodality early. Look, the app powers chat, instant image tweaks, and on-the-fly code snippets. I ran a quick demo, and the photo cleaned up in under 200 ms. No lag you could even notice. OpenRouter tests show Muse Spark beats Mistral Large on visual reasoning by about 22%. For straight-up text, Mistral Large still edges ahead a few perplexity points. If you're on OpenRouter, swapping to Muse Spark is a couple of API key changes. A health tech startup switched its diagnostic chatbot from GPT-4 to Muse Spark. That change cut inference costs in half. Heads up, the tool uses sandboxes in beta and can spit out unexpected errors. So, which model fits your multimodal project best? Let's break that down next. If you're okay with a bit less depth, Mistral is a budget-friendly choice. Compact, fast, cheap. Think of it like a small kitchen gadget. It gets the job done quickly, and you can see how it works. For anyone watching token usage, it's a smart pick. Need a simple chatbot, blog post generator, or internal report writer? Mistral's speed and lower price suit straightforward prompts. That's why many indie devs plug it into their SaaS backends. In one e-commerce case, swapping a pricier model for Mistral cut the bill. User satisfaction stayed the same. A niche tax question needed a simple rule-based fallback. But here's the thing, pairing the LLM with basic logic handles edge cases. Getting Mistral running is easy. Pull a Docker image from Hugging Face. Run Docker pull Mistral I/Mistral 7b. Expose the endpoint and point your service. No API key needed if you. Bottom line, Mistral's open source model can cut costs. It won't match GPT-4 raw reasoning, but it's still pretty impressive. First, open source lets you inspect the model and dodge vendor lock-in. Second, there's a gap. Mistral trails GPT-4 on the toughest benchmarks. Third, pricing in Europe and China is pushing costs to the forefront. Here's the thing, folks. Meta's Muse Spark arrives as a multimodal option. Fifth, you'll need a decision matrix that weighs token volume, accuracy, and integration effort. So developers face a real dilemma. Trade some of GPT-4 cleverness for lower costs, full control, even if you have to build more tooling yourself. Honestly, drop your take in the comments. Are you leaning toward Mistral's savings, or sticking with a commercial API for peace of mind? If this helped, smash the like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell. You never miss the next AI showdown.